Thank you. Good morning. I apologize for being late. When we planned this, I think we forgot that we've been planning the citywide disaster. And a disaster, the mayor is actually supposed to get a phone call, supposed to go to the emergency operating center, and I had to tell you because I was running late, I skipped that, but I did go to another disaster drill. This is our 5th town hall meeting. We've been having an amazing turnout from people from all the neighborhoods. I really want to thank particularly the block by block people for helping us on the outreach. So some of you got knocked on the doors. I know my husband and I walked around the area behind Laney College the other day to try to get some of the Chinese-speaking constituents out, even though we're having a special meeting just in Chinese language in a couple of weeks, so that this is an interesting district. Many of your constituents speak Chinese as a primary language. They also live in parts of 5 and parts of my old council district 4, and we're also considering doing an all Spanish language version. So if you have neighbors who didn't come today, please consider letting them know that. Some of you know that I've been mayor now for a little over 100 days, and it has been an amazing experience that the people of Oakland are so generous and are so really involved in trying to improve the city, and particularly on a neighborhood level. So looking around the room, I know some of you have been neighborhood leaders, some of you I only know through blogs, but we are clearly going through, thank you for giving me the agenda, we are clearly going through one of the toughest times in the city's history, maybe across the country if you look at what's happening at the federal level and looking at the state budget, and maybe one of the toughest times for all levels of government. But here at the local level, we don't have the luxury of printing money, or in some cases as the state, either borrowing other people's money or taking out huge loans on the future debt. We actually have to balance our budget. And Pat Kernighan, who is co-hosting this with me today, will tell you, she tells it quite eloquently, how we've pretty much done all of those rainy day savings things. We've emptied out all our reserves out. We've sold excess property. All of our employees have given 10%. Yesterday, the city administrator, Lamont Yule, and we're going to introduce all of our department heads really quickly, and I spoke to all of our employees over a video cast, thanking them for how dedicated they have been at times when we've been taking away pay and time for their families, and when we're going for a new round of a budget that will probably, in whatever version, could lay off anywhere between 80 to nearly 400 employees. And that's a very, very tough thing to think about. In other town hall meetings, we did the budget part separately. I'm going to try to do it together just to direct you to the website to tell you what our major options are. But before I do that, I want to say a couple of things about the city and its priorities. What I found when I campaigned and did the 220 house parties, and what I've found since then, is that this is a city that's pretty fair and fairly balanced. We know that we can't have all police and we can't have all prevention, that we have to have a balance. We're a city that cares about our diversity, and that what we love about our city is we love that we have 128 languages spoken in our public schools and 128 foods that go along with those 128 languages. But we also love the fact that what the young people often say is we're a real city. We have rich people, we have poor people, we have regular working class people, we have professionals. This is a city that's a cross-section of America. It is hometown to the world. It is a city that no matter how the tough times are, I have to tell you, every indicator, every projection about Northern California says that Oakland is a city that's going to continue to grow in jobs, it's going to continue to grow in housing, partly because of our great central location, but also because of our talents. It is also a city that is full of contradictions. We have one of the most educated working forces in the country with the most degrees. On the other hand, in East Oakland, only 3 of every 10 African American young men are graduating from high school. That is a gap that we can't allow to continue in the city. It is one of the issues that I, with the Superintendent Tony Smith, are going to try to take on and try to change with different joint initiatives. To keep me grounded, I've adopted 3 beats across the city, 2 in Deep East Oakland, 1 in District 7, 1 in District 6, and 1 in West Oakland. Those are some of the toughest beats. I'm going to be going to meetings. I'm going to continue to be knocking on their doors. I've been begging for jobs because one of the compromises between the Republicans and the White House is that they eliminated the entire summer jobs program. Now, this is a program which over the years has put 1,000 young people in the city to work during the summer. That program's gone. And I'm finding that as soon as we've got the budget out Friday night, and some of my staff stayed up all night to make sure that the budget would be ready for Friday, that's probably the next task for me, in addition to coming to public hearings, because we as a city have to pull together in these tough times. So let me tell you, what we're going to do today is you're going to break into small groups. So here you're going to have lunch by neighborhoods. We have groups by interest, lunch by neighborhoods. And what we hope comes out of this is that you get to know each other, and that some of you are going to continue to organize around things that we have to do. We also hope, from our point of view, from Pat's and my point of view, that we'll get a better sense of what your priorities are. I've used what I've learned from the town hall meetings that we've already had, and we had 400 people at the last 2. Amazing. I think the reason this is a little smaller is because we're having the separate Chinese language one. But we've been having this amazing turnout, and it's been giving us a good sense of what we believe as a city, our values as a city, has given us a real opportunity, I think, to talk. This week, the follow-up meeting from the last town hall meeting had over 30 people. They picked 4 projects based on what came out of the town hall meeting, and we've started work on the 4 projects that they've picked. So we're hoping that some of the projects that you prioritize, some of the ideas that we come up with today, we will go over a little bit more depth in the follow-up meeting, and based on that, both the community and the city will organize around to help you in your neighborhoods. We've also launched a few citywide initiatives. So at the very first town hall meeting, there was a mother who had a child in the wheelchair, and she talked about how difficult it was to get into some of the public institutions in West Oakland. And based on that, our disabled access people have been working with that group, and we've picked up some other people citywide, and now we have a model, and that group's going to go actually from city building to city building to look at the access immediately around it in every neighborhood in the city. So amazingly good idea. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Public Works has been kind enough to work with us. So what I'd like to do right now is, in addition to thanking Pat, Chief Batts, and Chief Batts not here, but Captain Tracy is here. Is he here? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were not going to be here today. I'm sorry. Chief Batts, David Kakashiba, and Block by Block. I'm going to introduce all of our department heads, but we want to thank the generous people who provided lunch. Arizmendi Bakery, Bangkok Palace, Casa Vallarta, Champa Gardens, my favorite place, Lakeshore Produce, Leaning Tower Pizza, Fo Andao, my other favorite place in this neighborhood, and especially the Regeneration Church community. What I'd like, thank you. If you look around at our tables, we have sort of a mini city hall set up, so if you have questions about certain departments, but these are the people who lead the departments for the most part, or their number 2 people. So if I could just have everybody do what we've done the other ones, just line up here and introduce yourselves. These are mostly our department heads within the city. And while they're getting up, let me just briefly talk to you about the budget that we released. It's on the city website. I've released 3 versions of the budget. It's what I call the bad, the really bad, and the really ugly. Okay. So budget A, when you look on the website, and I think we have some summaries of that. Sue Piper has the summaries, and we're going to be distributing those. Budget A assumes that either the council doesn't allow us to put a parcel tax on the ballot, or we lose the parcel tax, and that's an $80 a year, a quarter a day parcel tax for 5 years. Now, why do we need this? Mostly because we took this huge hit in property taxes last year when the tax assessor reevaluated all the homes. Any home that was bought in less than 5 years was downgraded in terms of the amount of taxes. That cost us about $28 million. And I have to tell you, never in the history of California have property taxes gone down. They've always sort of creeped up slowly. So we were counting last year on a $5 million increase. Instead, we got a $28 million decrease. That's why the cuts last year were particularly bad, and why for the first time we actually had officers that were laid off. We had protected senior programs. We had protected public safety services. We just didn't have a lot of choices left. It also assumes that all employee groups do not make additional contributions. And what I want to say is, so I'm hopeful that we will not have this scenario because we are in negotiations with all of our unions, including the firefighters and police whose contracts are actually closed, but they've reopened them. You may have heard today San Jose police officers took a 10% cut. I'm really hopeful that we're, maybe not that much, but I'm really hopeful that we are going to have a budget where everyone sacrifices equally, where we step up as citizens, where our employees give back. But in addition to that, Mr. Yule and I have put out a budget that's reorganized the city, that has decreased number of departments and flattened the organization somewhat. And we've also done some other things jointly with agencies that we hope will eventually save funds. So for instance, we are having the Oakland Housing Authority take over we're going to close 2 of our rec centers, and they're going to be operated shut down and leased out and operated by another agency. You're going to see in senior programs, because the senior programs have been so hard hit, that we're going to co-locate a lot of senior programs, and hopefully together we can provide full-day programs for seniors, particularly in the poorest neighborhoods, so that everybody continues to have 5 days of services, and even under the worst scenario, the senior centers will be open for lunch every day. Even if we don't have full programming, at least people will be able to get their lunch. The second scenario is one where, again, either the parcel tax is not placed on the ballot by the council, or we lose, but employees make some contributions. That's still a pretty painful. And so let me talk about the really ugly. The really ugly would be so bad that we couldn't even make the minimum match for the library. Measure Q, and Pat Kernighan, kid said I'd probably rather be run over by a truck than close a library, and she's right. I very reluctantly put there, but should that scenario happen, we would have only 4 libraries left in the city. So that's how bad that scenario is. We would close 4 firehouses. We would close 6 park and rec centers. That's how little reserves we have left, what we would have to do if we didn't get additional funding and went with just an all cuts budget. So version B is a little in between that, and with version C, that is, we get employee contributions and we pass a parcel tax, we'll still probably cut 80 positions in the city, but none of the more draconian things will happen. We'll do a lot of belt tightening, we'll still reduce departments, we will still merge some services, but we won't have elimination of tree services in some parks. We won't have that kind of draconian closing. We will still pass over to rec centers, to other agencies. We will do some other things, but we won't have that problem. So it is not a fun budget. It's the most painful thing I've done in 20 years as being an elected official, putting out those options, or it's not really options, those are scenarios, because I can't tell, I can't by myself say that this is going to happen or this is going to happen. Part of it will be your decision as citizens, part of it will be the city council's decision, but I ask you all to look at those options, to come to the hearings and the town hall meetings that we'll have throughout the month of May and June, and if you can't come but you want to give us feedback, we've set up this email address, budgetsuggestions@oaklandnet.com. So with that, I'm going to introduce the members and the people who have been leading the city, many of them understanding that their programs are endangered, but still being very gracious in working with me as a new mayor and working with the budget office to put out what has been a very tough process so far. So, come and introduce yourselves.
Good morning. I'm Lamont Ewell, the interim city administrator.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Yingdahl. I'm director of the city's Department of Human Services. Good morning. I'm Carmen Martinez, Director of the Oakland Public Library. Welcome. And please listen to what the mayor said about the library. Thank you very much. Thanks.
I'm Mark Hoffman. I'm the interim fire chief for the Oakland Fire Department, and I just have to tell you I grew up in this neighborhood, so I'm really happy to be here today. And I've brought some great administrative and line staff that are here to answer every question.
Good morning. I'm Yvonne Hudson Harmon. I'm the Human Resources Manager and representing the Department of Human Resources Management.
Feel like I'm announcing myself at a football game. Good morning, Oakland. How are you doing? All right, that's what I want to hear. I want you to take a second and introduce Captain Ed Tracy. Ed, stand up. Excellent. Outstanding job. Without introducing all the hardworking guys out here, I get to come before you, but these guys do the job every day. But please give them a round of applause in the back. Tony Batts, OPD.
Good morning. My name is Ken Gordon, Acting Director, Department of Information Technology.
Good morning. I'm Mike Neary, Assistant Director for Public Works, representing the Public Works Agency.
Rico Bembry, General Recreation Supervisor, representing Audrey V. Jones-Taylor, Oakland Parks and Recreation.
Hello, I'm Joe DeVries. I'm a Neighborhood Services Supervisor for the Neighborhood Services Division. If you don't go to your Neighborhood Crime Prevention Council, you need to start going. There's a map back where you can figure it out. If you don't have a Neighborhood Watch group on your block, you can start one. There's instructions how. And if you're afraid to do that, have a National Night Out party. It's coming up August 2nd, and we promote it, and there's all sorts of fun things to do with that. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Rich Fielding. I'm a supervisor in building services, and we work under the roof of the Community Economic Development Agency that does redevelopment as well as permit inspections, building services.
So these are the people. Public Works is potholes. He's looking for more potholes. So I'm going to introduce a good friend and colleague, your Councilwoman, Pat Kernighan. Before I do that, I just want to say that I think one of the reasons Audrey is not out here today is that she and I were up to about midnight last night because we opened up this pilot, and I want to just talk a little bit about a minute for this because I think it's a symbol of what we need to do. The superintendent of the schools and I have been talking a lot about the needs of the kids. And early this year, he came out with a study, and we've been meeting jointly. His head staff, our cabinet, have been talking about what we can do together, even though we don't have new resources. And one of the things that he pointed out is that he did a study of the children who have been either hurt or murdered in the last decade, who are school-age kids in this city. And when he looked at the data, he saw that over 80% of them were either hurt or murdered on the Friday or Saturday night. And we're not sure, if this is certainly not a solution, but it's a first step. So together, the school district, the city, and nonprofits and other groups are coming together now that the weather's getting warm to start opening up facilities up till midnight on Friday and Saturday night so that there are safe places in this community for young people to be. So last night we were at McClymonds and Rainbow Rec, and in a few weeks, Carmen will have some extra part-time people hired, and we'll be opening up the 81st Ave Library every Friday night till 10, and the 100 Black Men group is going to come and hang out in the library on Friday nights. It is the kind of thing I think we have to do to make a difference for young people in the city, and I have to say this, if any of you have jobs this summer, we're starting to collect, we're asking companies to stretch out. I'm going to use what remaining money I have for internships and bring in high school students from the tougher neighborhoods into the city to work this summer. We need to really pull together during these tough times for our young people. So with that, I want to introduce Pat Kernighan, a great city councilwoman and my friend.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to see so many of you out here. I want to thank the mayor. She is the hardest working woman I have ever met in my entire life. and she has, I think, all the right goals, as you have heard. And so she's extremely ambitious for what she wants for Oakland. And what she wants is what I think we all want and that we've been working toward. So today is a step along the way to trying to make some of those things happen. I'm going to be real brief today. Some of you are here who have been neighborhood activists for a long time. and are parts of organized efforts. And some of you maybe are here because you would like to find out what is going on in your neighborhood. So this is a perfect day to do that, because there are lots of tables and places where you can connect with what's going on in your neighborhood if you haven't figured that out, a way to do that yet. Also, on my District 2 website, patkernighan.com, there's information. If you want to email me or phone my office, if you want to know more about how you can connect with other people and issues you're working on, just call us up and we will help you out. I want to say, and I think a lot of you know this, there is already a lot of neighborhood activism and organized activity in District 2 neighborhoods, and it is wonderful. I want to thank those of you that, I can hardly even call out every neighborhood, but up by Bella Vista, right here at Regeneration Church does amazing stuff. Oh, I see the Bella Vista folks back there and the NCPC. You'll hear from David Kakishiba, who's the director of East Bay Asian Youth Center, which serves this entire neighborhood. And then there's a lot going on in the Rose Garden, Grand Lake, and on Haddon Hill, Cleveland Heights. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I think you'll find that these breakout sessions are useful, and then do hang around for the socializing part, because I think just talking and connecting with your neighbors or with some of these city staff is going to be really valuable. So now I would like to introduce David Kakishiba, Oakland School Board member and head of EBASI, and great partner in making the San Antonio a better place to live. David?
So first of all, I want to thank Mayor Quan and the Block by Block Organizing Committee for, first of all, pulling together this big community conversation here in District 2 about how we make our neighborhoods and our city a better place to live. And particularly for me, my bias is that I'm looking to pretty much dedicate my life in trying to make neighborhoods and cities a great place to raise our families. And I think this is going to be a wonderful conversation. I think hopefully very sharp, very specific, very brass tacks, and emerging out of this conversation is that we have a lot of things to do, and that we'll be developing new working relationships with one another to make things happen. Like what Mayor Quan had laid out, the Oakland Unified School District has been grappling, the school board and the superintendent has been grappling with probably the worst economic situation facing K-12 education in California. We have prepared a budget that is an all-cuts budget. It's about $32 million reduction from the state of California. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't want we're supposed to get into great conversations. I don't want to give a lot of the bad news, but the bottom line is that we're looking for what we thought we were going to make a major reduction, triple-digit reductions in the teacher and counseling workforce. We are making some reductions, but it's far, far less. We're in total, and unfortunately, including adult education, we're looking at about 90 positions that will no longer be around in July. And we're also, in terms of school secretaries and attendance clerks and what have you, there'll be fewer of those positions. At the same time, I think it's an important thing to remember that how we treat our young people, as it is how we treat our elders, is really a mark of the quality of life here in our city and again in our neighborhoods. I encourage all of you, even if you have no children in the public schools or in the private schools, that our lives and the quality of our lives are intertwined with what happens with young people throughout the city. I want to really acknowledge the mayor's real, very central focus on improving the lives of young people and therefore improving the lives of families. So with that, I want to thank you for being here and looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
So actually, he was much more polite than I have been. I need to say that Sanjay Swanson's not here today. I've been inviting him. Sanjay, the state was going to fine the school district $27 million for mismanagement during their time of running the school district. And we actually have a bill to make sure that that doesn't happen. The state also ran the school district's deficit up from 22 million to over 100 million during the 5 years that they were in charge of the district. And the interest alone on that would probably have given the teachers a decent raise. So we still have a lot of fights in supporting our schools, even at that base funding. If we can get these fights with the state won, we are still finally made it to last place. I believe California will now have the least amount spent per child in the whole country. And we've always been above Mississippi in those places. Well, no more. If we cannot get, if Jerry's not able to get the sales tax on the ballot and fill in the budget, we will have made our way to last place, and that's a pretty sad thing. I am going to let two young people, we usually don't do this, two young people speak because it's an issue that's really important for Oakland and along the theme, and for your district in particular. There's two young people who are working on developing a teen and youth center in Chinatown. They also don't have a location or much more funds, but they've been doing it by getting agencies to chip in and by getting the community to chip in. And that's along the theme. I normally mention my 2000 mentor initiative, so I want to say, piggyback on what Pat says, if you can help a young person, if you can volunteer in a school, and particularly if you're willing to mentor one of the really tough kids in the city, and to me that's the 500 kids that get arrested every year, the 300 kids that age out of foster care and literally can become homeless if they don't stay in school or in a job training program, and the 1,200 kids that David has that are chronically truant in the city every year. And why do we focus on those kids? They're mostly starting at middle school age, because we know if you miss 20 days of school, you won't keep in your grade. If you don't keep in your grade, there was a recent study that showed that 66% of the 9th graders who missed 20 days of schools 5 years ago were in trouble with the law. So we need to hit and help young people at a very early age, and we need a lot of volunteers to do that. And these are people who have been working on a very exciting project for your district.
Hello, my name is Quan Lee, and I am a senior at Oakland High School. And I am with the CYCI, which is the Chinatown Youth Center Initiative. And we have been working on a youth center inside Chinatown for the youth. And I'm here to explain what is important about the youth center. Well, to me, I've been through a lot of events in my past, and now I realize that one thing that really encourages me to create this youth center is friendship. Friendship is just friends, people you hang out with, like your comrades and all that. But friends to me is really important, because a good friend can become a positive role model. A friend can always be there when you're having your downfall, and a friend will always be there for you. And what I want from this youth center is to create a friendship for everybody, a positive role model, so the youth can avoid from being dragged into these violence acts and crimes. And what more do you think from it? And also, when I was a child, I've always wanted to die, apparently. I've always wanted to die proud, never for some pointless reason. And from what I've seen from this youth center this is the perfect way for me to live on proud. Thank you.
My name is Lailan Hewen. I'm a District 2 resident. I live over on 9th Avenue. I'm also a member of the Black by Black Organizing Network, and I also work for Assemblymember Sandra Swanson, so if you have any state issues, you can come to me. I get to talk a little bit about our breakout sessions today. It's really the meat of our event here today, because we are hearing from you all. We're hearing from you all about what should be our visions for Oakland. So we're asking you to do 4 things. We're asking you to identify visions for 1 and 4 years, short and long term, for Mayor Quan's administration. We're asking you to identify what you can do as a neighbor, as a resident, to help with that vision, to help get us there. We're asking you to identify what the city can do, because this is going to determine the mayor's strategic plan to get to that vision. And then we're asking you to identify measures of success. How do we know in 1 and 4 years that we've gotten there, right? Because this is real, this is concrete, this is tangible. We're going to improve our city in the next 4 years, and we need your help. So we have 8 breakout groups that are amazing that we've organized for you. And some of the goals are really to connect with the city staff who are working on these issues. Sometimes there's just disconnect between residents and city staff, so we really want to build those relationships. We also want to connect you to all the community organizations that work on that issue, because that's also part of the key to solving some of these problems, is connecting all of those to neighbors and residents. So we have 8 wonderful groups, and I'm going to point out where they are at so you know where to go, and you can, if you haven't chosen where you want to go, you know where to go. So the first one is going to be public safety, and that is going to be over across the street in the beautiful sanctuary at Regeneration Church, and that's going to be led by Reagan Harmon, who's the public safety staff for Mayor Quan, as well as Joanne Karchmer from District 2, and then I believe the police staff are going to join us, and then Joe DeVries is going to be there. Raise your hand if you're facilitating that, and it's going to be across the street. We're going to maybe get some of the police to help us cross the street safely, so we don't get hit by cars. Schools and after-school programs, education is going to be here, and that's going to be led by Louis Cohen, who's the mayor's education staff, David Kakashiba, school board director, and Jenny Gerard from District 2 as well. Youth and issues is going to be on this side of the room. It's going to be led by Kazu Haga and Kevin Mann. Raise your hands. And then public works, that includes potholes. Infrastructure, beautifying our neighborhoods, is going to be led by Arturo Sanchez. Where are you at, Arturo? Arturo, raise your hand. And that is going to be across the street in the chapel. And that's also going to be joined by Andrew Park, who's from the East Lake Bella Vista area, and Michael Sarabia. The 5th one is economic development and jobs, local economic development. How do we increase local economic development in our business districts here? And that's going to be led by Pamela Drake and Steve Ma. And that is going to be in the cafe across the street. It's right to your left when you walk in the door in the church. Housing, foreclosures, and homelessness is going to be led by Sharon Cornu. Where's Sharon at? And supported by Michael Mancini, who works on housing issues, and that is going to be in the children's room across the street. It's a very cute children's room, but we got big chairs in there. And then social issues, human slavery, prostitution, immigration. We know District 2 is one of the hardest hit by sexual exploitation of minors here on International. It's going to be led by Terry Bautista and Joy Kim, but if you have other issues around immigration, we're kind of having to combine all of that. And then the last one is going to be environment and health, and that is being led by Rachel Vernon and Rich Fielding. Where you guys at? Over there. And that is going to be, environmental and health is going to be in the sanctuary balcony. It's upstairs, so just go up the stairs when you get there. And then, the social issues one is going to be right in the back of the sanctuary for the church across the street. And there are signs on everything, so you know where it is. And there's also, I think they're labeled over there by the door as well, so you know where to go. And just ask anybody where they are at. We have a question? Yeah. Right. Yeah, I was just going to say that for anybody who needs translation, we're going to ask you to check in here right when we break so that we can decide where you guys want to go. If you want to move as a group, if you want to have your own group, we can set that up as well. So anybody who's in a different language, we're going to accommodate you. Last thing is that if you're interested in disabilities, Reagan Harmon will be able to field some of those concerns in the public safety group. So if you're interested in that, go to that group. Am I missing anything? Okay. Oh, right. Right. So what you come up with in about 30, 40 minutes with that group, we're going to ask you to come back and share it, and we're going to have quick report backs, and then we're going to have an open mic and Q&A and close out with the mayor. Okay. Thank you.
So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to go around and ask everyone to say their vision statement for education.
My name is Dustin Daggs. I am a boxing coach at King's Boxing Gym, and I also train a small group of kids in an after-school program at Elmhurst Community Prep on 98th Avenue. My vision for the Oakland School District is that each kid be empowered to be successful through their education, and that regardless of background, kids be able to overcome adversity and move forward in their lives.
My name is Michael. I live in the Grand Lakeshore neighborhood. My vision would be that every student, having graduated from the Oakland schools, is empowered or prepared for either college or a career.
But I think one of the things that we need is for each student to have a mentor that they can go to so that they can help further their education in all levels.
So I think my vision is pretty basic. It's truly I want, or I envision Oakland schools to be a place where parents want to take their kids and where kids can thrive.
So our schools are places that our parents want to take their kids and their kids can thrive.
My thoughts are just create the idea of creating a culture, including parents and teachers, of course, to really empower students and to focus on the student themselves, and make sure that students know that they really have control over their education and they can create opportunities for themselves. So,
Peter?
Yeah, my name's Peter. I live on Ivy Drive. I also work for the City of Oakland's Office of Parks and Rec in the Community Gardening Program. We're doing free after-school programs right now in the gardens. So I agree with everything everybody just said, and I would just add that perhaps we should add the word encourage in the mission statement, encouraging future growth, as well as empowerment, to just talk about that, making sure that that's a crucial element of it, that we're thinking about the future, not just what's happening in school.
The mentors are separate from the safe places, the programs, and things of that nature. So those can all be combined, the expanding programs, safe places, etc. And then we want mentors.
This one is also the same, I think. So these three can be combined.
And then your mentors, the mentors is a separate category where you have more mentors for foster care, for the young ladies, for the guys hanging out on the corner.
What about youth and violence? We don't have nothing on violence and probably mental disabilities.
So talk about that in the form of a vision. What would you like to see happen around those
Maybe
issues?
a center where youth can be aware of mental disabilities and youth violence. Youth violence not only within like partners, like if there's a girlfriend, boyfriend, and they get into an argument and violence. You see that a lot. I've seen that a lot.
So like a center that can teach young people how to deal with violence and conflict in their lives.
The youth that's hanging out on the corner are the ones that a lot of them are selling the drugs. That is so important to get to know them. So that should go with one, because if you want a safe place for children to hang out, you have got to get to know these youth that's doing these things, breaking in houses, selling drugs and things like that.
And once we all go around, what we're going to do is we're going to give everyone an opportunity to vote. We're going to give you 3 stickers, and you can put your stickers next to the issues that you think are the most important. If you think one issue is really important and that's the vision that you want to talk about more, you can put all 3 of your stickers on that one.
I've been in the internet technology for maybe the last 15 years. I've worked at big companies and a lot of small startups. And we live in the Bay Area, which is really the technology hub of the world. We have Silicon Valley in the South Bay, and we have a thriving startup community in San Francisco. And recently there's been some stuff in the news about some big startups, Twitter, that basically they were talking about moving out of San Francisco.
You want to attract them here.
Yeah. I know we have Pandora.
Yeah, we have Pandora.
We have Ask, but I'm just very curious about what we're doing to get technology
Oh, okay, good. So how are we attracting technology and particularly internet to IT people and IT businesses to, if they're coming or even just developing from the ground up like Pandora?
Incentives for startups.
Incentives
There's a
for
big opportunity
startups,
for that.
for those that are really, you know, ready to pop. Okay.
And the thing that you mentioned about cleaning the sidewalks for little business district, self-assessment district, I would love to see your business district do that. Because the sidewalks are covered with gum.
Okay, so I would say our two top priorities would be local hire and training, and I would actually sort of meld that with putting this together with having some sort of job networking and registry. Okay, local hire and training to include some way for people to network about jobs, but also to register what their skills are, if they're, that sort of thing.
You know, one of the things that I'm really concerned about is the Oakland Army Base development, which sits on port and city property. So there's 1 year to finalize the deal with a developer. So in that 1 year, I think as community, we can talk with our council members, the port commissioners, the mayor, and ask them to make sure that there is a strong local hiring policy, there's mechanisms for job training, there's a way for the community to be involved in enforcing the local hire policy. So I think within 1 year, I'd love to see that.
Just whether it's business associations, business meetings, landowners, homeowners, employees or unemployed looking for more work and communicating with each other and networking with each other. On many levels, the groups in this community do need to gather a little bit more often and just speak with one another.
Right. I know for developers, because I used to work for a city councilman, they hate that even a contractor, that the rules seem to change every person you ask. They need to know that the rules are the same, and they need to know from the top what they're going to be before they invest all this money and then find out it ain't going to work. This has been a continuous problem. This needs to be fixed. The permitting process.
But my vision is peace. Peace. And my top priority is controlling mayhem, street mayhem. People screaming, yelling, blasting thumper cars, doing donuts, the kind of stuff that we see every single day in our neighborhood.
And I think overall, it's getting more cops on the street because that's going to take care of getting cops back on the street. The neighborhood over from us, we've had something like 5 break-ins, home invasion break-ins in the last month, I think. And that's low priority. So one of the things that I would like to see, and maybe some others would, is maybe civilianization of some of the roles in the department so those officers can get back on the street and other people can do those jobs.
I'd like to see the occurrence of violent crime decrease by like 50% if that's possible. Yeah.
I've only been here for 2 years, so I'm relatively new to Oakland from the Lakewood Long Beach area. My vision, of course, is to decrease crime, but I hope that we as citizens can be more responsible and take more responsibility for our behaviors, because police can only do so much, but citizens also have to be mindful of what they do as far as being empowered to improve the city, not doing crime.
Hi, my name is Ann. I live over by the Rose Garden. We have also had a rash of burglaries, so I'm very concerned about that, very concerned about all these assaults happening around Lake Merritt, but I want to piggyback on what she said, and that I really would like to use this forum as become more connected with my neighbors, because I really do think part of it is on us to step up in coordination with the police and the fire department.
Tôi là Mai.
My name
là
is Mai.
một người Việt Nam.
I'm a Vietnamese.
Cũng qua đây nhiều năm rồi.
I've been here for many years now.
Nhưng mà tôi có một cái là.
But I have one thing.
10 years. Tôi qua đây 10 năm.
I've been here for 10 years.
Rồi ngày hôm qua thì cái nhóm chúng tôi có đi tới một cái nhà hàng để gặp một ông cảnh sát để trao đổi với nhau về vấn đề an ninh.
Yesterday, my group went to a restaurant to meet with a police officer to exchange about the safety, the public safety.
Khi mà ra về á thì có 3 cái cô gái điếm.
When
tôi
we
biết như
left
vậy. Tôi
the
thấy cái
restaurant,
cách như vậy.
we saw 3 prostitutes. I think by the look, I know they are prostitutes.
Và để ý đi theo chúng tôi cho chúng tôi ra tới xe.
And they actually
nhưng mà
followed
chúng
us
tôi vô xe
until
liền
we went into the car. But we got in the car immediately.
Rồi mấy cô thì có cái vẻ là khiêu khích.
And they basically kind of want to challenge us.
Tôi thấy là nếu như mà chúng tôi đi bộ chắc có thể là
You know,
mấy cô
I'm
đó sẽ
afraid
đánh đó.
if we walking, then they might harm us.
Just in terms of the way it looks like, we are spread out. So if we could possibly see how it seems outreach is a concern. And immigration.
When, because I think for the immigrants, because of this, the fear of being able to fully participate in the society, like, you know, fear of contacting the police or services when, you know, if there's a need to. That's a way of driving them underground, just like so many other things are, you know, for anything, for getting employment or anything. As soon as you're driven underground, boom, you're part of that human slavery thing, which I think is, you know, very much hand in hand with the prostitution issues. So I'm not saying that all of prostitution or of human slavery has everything to do with immigration, but I think there's a big link there in a city like Oakland, where we have so much you know, university is a mecca for a lot of people that are immigrating. So that's one of the principal connections that I see for it.
I think that especially in the context of a really severe economic recession, when people when people arrive here as newcomers, and if they've been brought by some sort of network and they are in debt, for example, a lot of people come here, have paid, you know, have indebted themselves for thousands of dollars to pay whoever brought them here, and then, you know, are kind of pressured because of that debt to engage in different, you know, types of work, or you know, accept really dangerous working conditions and really low pay, or oftentimes working without pay, which is the human slavery part, because you're paying back that debt. I think it, you know, I mean, we've seen that it creates these situations where, you know, it's a really thin line from that. It can be a really easy jump, especially for young women, you know, people who are more vulnerable to like sexual exploitation, to take that leap to, you know, working in a really dangerous, you know, job, to like being pressured into sex, in sex work, into what we're calling prostitution, which is sex work.
You can put all 3 dots in one spot if you're that concerned, okay? And then at the end, we're going to look at the top 3 spot getters, okay?
If we vote for one, doesn't mean the others aren't important.
The top getter is walkability for social cohesion. The second, I think it's tied between supporting cultural institution and the arts and increasing green and open spaces.
You can't have one without the other. If we're going to have walkable neighborhoods, we're going to have neighborhoods with identity and a sense of place. We're going to be promoting complete streets so that everybody will be able to get around. And at the same time promoting economic development and beautification. All this is just tied together. To have a walkable neighborhood is to have a complete neighborhood with culture and a sense of identity. And so many people mentioned gardening. And someone else mentioned working with the immigrants in this district. Many cultures have their own farming background. And it would be so nice to have an intergenerational program where the grandparents teach the children how to garden, like from their old country, now that they're in the new.
We are going to talk about our vision, so what this means, what this vision means for us in the short term, so the next year, and then what it means for us in the next 4 years. So thinking about short-term solutions for walkability, does anyone have what that looks like in the next year?
Joining neighborhood watches and
consistent, I think, is the word that's important.
Or maybe providing food carts with just fruit. In New York, when I lived in New York, you walk out of your building, there's a big fruit stand. You can't get to the store.
I think that's more about 4 years.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, this district. Okay.
Introduction of yourself and then a supporting statement, and that's sort of the structure.
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Becky. My personal experience with Public Works in the city recently is that I parked somewhere and got a parking ticket at a place that, well, isn't Public Works like the curbs? Like in the curbs that are painted red and that are painted white and that are painted blue, and like there's not enough parking, like you know, you have to do what you have to do, and if you get a ticket, and then like the next week, like my car got broken into at the BART station, and then the next week after that, I was going down East 12th and I ran into a pothole and had $300 worth of damage to my car. Yeah, so that is crazy to me that I have, I mean, it's like, it hurts my pride. I love Oakland, I'm passionate about Oakland, and it hurts my pride, and I think to myself, why am I still here? I have an opportunity to move to another city, and it's like, why am I subjecting my car to this? Why am I subjecting my mental health to the fact that like I'm hitting this giant, I mean, Lakeshore Avenue, has anybody been on Lakeshore Avenue lately?
I'd like to bring up like illegal dumping. Seems like Public Works does a really good job of picking up illegally dumped stuff when you call them, but I guess oftentimes people don't call or they don't know how to contact them. And also, there isn't really a place that I know of in Oakland to actually dump stuff. You gotta go to Berkeley or San Leandro. There's no like transfer station. So if you got a load of trash in your truck, you gotta take it to another city, and it's really expensive. It's like, so I can see why people dump illegally, because it's super expensive and not around here. And also, yeah, trash and litter and stuff. A lot of people, I guess, they don't seem to think like they need to pick up the stuff in front of their house, like that's somebody else's responsibility, but it's not going to go anywhere unless they deal with it, and I don't think people realize that. A lot of people don't.
So I said illegal dumping and lack of legal alternatives for dumping.
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay.
Some of the kids say things like doing town business, and if there is an opportunity to harness the community to help Public Works and to together see this as our city to try to make it better and make Oakland beautiful.
So we have about 15 minutes to run through very quickly our 8 breakout groups. So I'm going to call up public safety. Is public safety in the house? Who are you? Okay, come on up.
So we had a lively discussion in our public safety breakout, and the 2 themes that we got that are very different. The first theme that got the most votes was safety on the streets for people walking, in particular seniors and students at night and after school along the commercial corridor. So safety and an increased police presence was the #1 voted on item. The #2 item, which is of a different flavor, was better communication between OPD and the community, and really on both sides, that the community do a better job communicating their needs and that the police do a better job communicating what they do. So those are really the 2 themes. And I want to say, in regard to communication between the police and the neighbors, join your neighborhood council, start a neighborhood watch group, go through the Citizens Police Academy, all programs that my division happens to sponsor, and you will suddenly be better communicating with the police. So thank you very much.
And very much connected to public safety, we have education.
We had one vision statement and everybody rallied around it. It is that each student is empowered through education regardless of background, with the involvement of their family and their teachers. Toward that end, our more specific vision is that every student have a complete education plan to get them through school, done with their family and their teachers. That all students are finding a path where they can realize their educational potential, and that we see it as important to educate the community on how schools work and can support this kind of plan. Here's what we see community doing. We need volunteers to provide academic support, perhaps in programs at rec centers. We need to establish group mentoring programs. We need to supply reading materials, a variety and appropriate reading materials for every classroom, particularly the ones that have none now. And we need businesses to offer internships. Here are a few things that we suggest that the city can do. The city can foster more interagency collaboration to work to support this program. The city needs to provide pathways for community members to become mentors. The city could establish parent support networks. And finally, we'd offer that the city can hold more literacy events to really promote it, that literacy is a cool thing.
And very connected to education, youth issues. Who we got?
Our main issue was mentoring for the young people and getting them off the streets. Our 1-year goal is to have more youth involved for each of the 7 districts, like to open up a youth caucus, because District 6 have one, so we're working on building ones for all the other districts. Training for mentors at local schools, and our measuring success is 25% of 2,000 mentors within a year. And have community work better with Oakland to fund for children, for our youth. And better, what does that say? Coordination and working together. Our 4-year long-term goal is peer-to-peer mentors and establishing more youth centers so mentors have a home base. And our measuring success is much higher graduation rates and less dropouts, more outreach to youth, and better, and all 2,000 mentors recruited.
All right, calling up public works, infrastructure, and beautifying our neighborhoods. We got?
Okay, hello everybody. So I participated in a group where we talked about public works, so streets, also transportation. We spent a lot of time getting to know each other and talking about our vision. We were a group of about 15 to 20 people. And we ended up coming up with a kind of larger vision statement that kind of captured all of what we were talking about, the top priorities for what the city should be working on. And the vision statement is beautification by harnessing public energy to improve infrastructure, access to parks for dogs and people, maintenance, reducing blight, and creating a greener city. So we talked about a lot of issues, including bus stops, parking regulations, blight, beautification, and this kind of summarized and prioritized the top issues. We also talked about some of the synergies that could result from working on some of these issues together. So maybe the folks who want a dog-friendly city can work with the folks that want to improve blight in the area, and so they can clean up parks and be stewards to the parks as well. So, and anyone from the group want to add anything to that? Okay, great, thanks.
Hello everybody, my name is Chang Yi. We had a exciting, passionate, and very exuberant discussion about economic development and job development, really. The 4-year plan, just to start with the bigger picture, was more jobs, more attracting better and bigger businesses, as well as nurturing small businesses within our neighborhoods. In order to do that, what we discussed and really came to fore with the 1-year plan in order to bring that greater vision about was to emphasize attracting high-tech, biotech, and other green tech businesses to our neighborhoods, just like our neighbors in Emeryville and as well as across the bay in the peninsula in San Francisco as well as in Silicon Valley. In addition, related to that was development of local jobs. We have a lot of initiatives to buy locally, to shop locally, but we feel that there should be an emphasis put on hiring locally as well, so that the money that is earned in this community will be rotated within the community and distributed within the community. Another issue within the 1-year one-year scope was the Parkway Theater. It has been a really anchor business in our neighborhoods, and we would like to see the Parkway reopened in some fashion. In the ways that it has served our community, if not transformed in a way that it will continue to anchor businesses along Park Boulevard and East 18th Street. In ways that we can do it as a community, we realize that this dialogue and conversation needs to happen more often, more in depth. And in that regard, we as members of the community should meet along with our business owners and our landowners in business associations, as well as for individuals looking for jobs, getting together and talking about looking for jobs, networking with each other. These get-togethers will have network externalities that will develop business as well as jobs for everyone in the community. What the government, the city can do for us is to provide incentives for businesses, whether they be streamlining the permit process, tax cuts, or even payroll tax cuts like Twitter enjoys in San Francisco now in the mid-market move. In terms of local hiring, we would like the city to encourage local hiring and get behind initiatives where they provide incentives to businesses to hire locally. And in terms of the Port of Oakland, we'd like the Port of Oakland to open up employment for greater numbers of people and to see that they also emphasize job development and hiring locally. How we would measure our success after a year, after successive years, would be initially unemployment rates, whether they be amongst college educated, graduate school educated, high school educated, or below high school educated. We'd like to measure unemployment rates across different strata within our community to see how well we are doing. And that is what we discussed. Thank you.
Just to add to the economic development, we talked a lot about developing a registry for local talent, including people who moved here really have no employment and are in danger of becoming homeless, but also networking for ourselves within our local business districts so that business owners know that there are people living in their neighborhood that know that someone's available. That's something we can work on together. The city can help market. And the other thing was that we did mention that festivals, we have a lot of great festivals in Oakland, but they are having a harder and harder time operating due to all the police costs and permitting.
And also for Parkway Theater, Pat, I think we need to talk. We need to make a move now. It's our time, and people have expressed that. Thank you.
Thank you. And connected to the economy is housing, homelessness, and foreclosures.
Hello, my name is Mike, and we talked about the housing, homelessness, and foreclosures. The vision, I mean, there was sort of two topics we looked at: the services that are available and how that information gets disseminated to the people who need the services, and the actual programs that provide the services. And so what was voted on was to discuss and look at a vision for was actually how that information, because there are so many programs and so much stuff going on, how does that get to the people who need the services, whether they be in a foreclosure situation, whether it's homelessness, or trying to get some sort of affordable housing. And so one of the things we came up with was a comprehensive resource directory, something that for people who, for instance, for the homeless who don't have a phone or don't have, the ability to contact someone or find that information, where that can be handed out, like something that has all of the key resources that they would need, whether it's for housing or for shelters or whatever, food, whatever it is, sort of in one centralized sort of brochure, something that maybe can be very easy for them to understand. And that could be, we talked about printed or electronic in both. What can we do as the community is disseminate the information, so the community groups being able to go out and get this information and meet the people on the streets where they are, and also getting that to the organizations that provide, let's say, counseling for foreclosures or affordable housing, where there can be sort of a uniform set of information that's the same for everybody, so that when people need help, they have the same places to call, and it's not so complicated and convoluted, and they don't get lost in just simply trying to find out where or how to get a service. How the city can help basically is funding that, making that happen, getting that organized in a way where the information is easily put together. Also sort of strengthening the programs that are provided with the resources, and doing more outreach, like the city with the community groups, to actually go out on the street and reach people where they are, because it's great if the information's there, but if it never gets to people, or people don't have the relationships with the folks on the street, they're never going to want to look for that help or know where it is. Measuring success, we talked about, there's 211 out there where people call. So as an example, sort of surveying people or when they get into programs, how they actually got the information, if they got what they needed. And one of the other things was to get this stuff in multiple languages, because there are so many languages that are spoken around the lake, just for instance, or around the area, that we might be catering to one population but not to another. So that was that part, and then, yeah.
And then I guess the really important issue, though, that we talked a lot about as well, though, is that even if you have the ability to provide information and refer people to resources, those resources need to be available, right? And so we need to have federal and state funding and really protect some of those funding sources to make sure that we continue to have affordable housing. We need to look at how to deal with some of the foreclosure issues that are currently in crisis. We need to have services for homeless individuals. And unfortunately, we ran out of time, I think, to go in depth in those issue areas, but I think those are actually really important to talk about the funding and the ability to maintain and continue to expand some of these services that people really need in housing. Thank you.
All right, we do need to keep it moving. So all other social issues, human slavery, prostitution, immigration.
Okay, we were a small group, but we were very passionate about the issue, and immigration, human slavery, and prostitution are related to immigration status and the question of criminalization. The vision is to increase outreach and ensure protection, both physical, emotional, and the safety from deportation. In 1 year, what the community can do is to gather data and information, raise community awareness through research, heighten report of consumers of sex trafficking. It's those who are in demand that need to be stopped. Neighborhood network functioning as safe houses. What the city can do is to shut down those hotels, education campaigns, and we're talking about advertisement by billboard so that a support system and safe houses can also be identified. As far as measuring success, the group asked that there be a priority to the city's ID mechanism so that people who are undocumented may be protected, and that Oakland is a sanctuary city. We need to remind the entire city that in fact that's the case. In 4 years, we want a healthier city. We want to crack down on pimps and customers. As far as, again, what the community can do, encourage better curriculum in our education system at younger ages so young people know that there are alternatives. What the city can do, obviously job creation. We overlap with the economic development group, job training, job creation incentives for programs for young people, and businesses to hire youth. Our measure of success is concrete MOUs regarding city and police to decriminalize immigration status and sex work. Thank you.
Last but not least, environment and health. Oh, yes, sorry. And then we have one more.
Okay, so we were the environment and health group, and essentially what we decided is our #1 priority is walkability, as it encourages social cohesion and a sense of community. So encompassed in that vision is a lot of beautification, so removing concrete from front yards and gathering trash and having more people out on the streets, whether that be in cultural events or block parties, block fairs, having more greenery and more paths, and reducing crime, so neighborhood watches, but having more people out on the streets would reduce crime anyway. So we talked about what we can do, which is involving the community, cleaning up our own blocks, adopting a spot, and walking more. In terms of what the city can do, we talked about easier access to doing things, so like holding any of these institutions out on the streets and making sure that those can happen, or if you wanted to start a community garden, having more easy access to starting a community garden. Better information for homeowners about city codes, and fostering a sense of neighborhood identity. Repairing sidewalks and lighting, because a big issue is also that people don't feel safe walking on dark streets. And to publicize city resources by sending out mailers. And balancing the budget, stuff like that. Is there anything people want to add? Yeah, balancing the budget. So, is there anything you want to add? Okay.
Okay, last, we had the Chinese speakers meet separately, and they came up with their own issues, so we're going to let them report back too.
For the language issue, so we have 6 people in our group, but that they talk about different things. So right now, okay, here lots of things we talk about. Majority, first of thing, they think the most priority thing is the housing issue. They think this housing issue is making people have a safe issues, and then to have the safety issues and have the education issues. If as root cause, one of the things is to make people have the education, because otherwise pay too much for the housing. We want to have the mixed income, building new development come up, but at least to have certain percentage or one of the speakers say that they would like to have 1/3 of affordable housing, and if it is the land government land, that will be higher percentage of the housing as 40% or 50%, and then safety issue is the one big concern for this group. They said one very good issue to come up is that it is cheaper to have the community patrol folks than to actually have one police, have the fully armed police. So that they say that it will be better to see the more community patrol than the police station there. So, and one people suggest to have local, hire the high school student or the people who in the college to do as the patrol folks. And what else? What else? Very important issue, the health issue, is the public bathroom. Then public bathroom, that's after 911, they said that all the parks in the Oakland closed the public bathroom. But they said that Fremont, they open it, so they want to see whether it can be, I know that is not the city things, but along the Lake Merritt, I'm done. And then Lake Merritt to have public bathroom. And so, thank you.
Hey, it's been great. How's everybody now? Ready for lunch? Okay, don't forget, don't leave, because during lunch we're going to all get together in our neighborhood groups. Tanya, and we have some youth leaders here. This event would have been difficult for it to happen if it had not been, I need a little bit of quiet, I'll be my teacher self, I'm waiting. If it had not been for the Block by Block organizing network. This is the network that grew up. An applause for yourselves. This is a network that grew up around the campaign and ran the grassroots campaign. People from all districts of Oakland got together. We went out, we walked, we knocked on doors. As soon as the mayor won the campaign, we went out, we knocked on doors, we walked in neighborhoods. We went in all kinds of neighborhoods all over Oakland, and we told people about the resources available. We told them about ways to get together to organize their neighborhoods better. So what we do now is we meet the first Thursday of every month. We split up between 3 different areas of Oakland so that it'll be easier for people to get to. Please, over there, a little quiet. Thank you. So the next meeting is very important. I want you to know the next meeting is this Thursday at the ILWU headquarters, 99 Hagenberger. This Thursday, May 5th, starts at 6:30. Please come and bring your neighborhood concerns and your enthusiasm from today and come to the first Thursday meetings and get signed up for Block by Block. We also have Tanya Love, who's going to talk to you for a minute, who worked really hard on this town hall. I want you to give her a round of applause. And then we are going to hear from some of our youth leaders who are forming a new youth caucus because we want to get more youth involved.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank you guys all for coming out. And I just wanted to say a little bit about why it's important as us as residents and neighbors to get involved in Oakland. When I was a little girl, and that wasn't that long ago, but when I was a little girl, I used to go out into the neighborhood with my brother, and we would play. We were about 10 or 11 years old because my mom was a single parent, and she could not come home until 11 o'clock at night. So we would be out in the streets, riding our bicycles, playing with the neighborhood kids. We would go to the local park, and we would get free food, and we would play in the park until like 10 o'clock at night, and then we would run home. And we thought we were really smart and really slick because we thought my mom didn't know anything about it. And we were just little rascals running the streets. But one thing is that my mom knew everything that we were doing. And how did she know everything that we were doing? Because the neighbors were watching us. The neighbors told her when we were acting bad. The neighbors told her when we were out in the streets and we were playing. And the neighbors came over to our apartment and made sure that we did our homework and that we cleaned up the house. So one of the things I wanted to emphasize is that in order to really make sure that our city is safe, it takes all of us. It takes a village to really come out and do the work of the city. Right now, we are having extreme budget cuts, and the police are being cut off, being fired, city workers are being fired. There's only so much that the mayor can do. So it's really up to us to come together, to stand together, and do the work for the city. And so I want to encourage you, if there's one thing that you can do today, is that I need you to find someone that lives on your street, that lives on your block, and just go up to them and say, "Hi, I am your neighbor. Let's get together and do something." And have someone represent at B-Bond or at your neighborhood groups. And if you can do that, I think we'll be at one step closer to making this the great city that it can be. Because I love Oakland. I know y'all love Oakland, right? Right. Because, rent and mortgage is too high for us not to care about what's going on. So I pay a lot of money for rent, so I need to know what's going on in my neighborhood. So I think you guys do too. Thank you so much for coming. Hi, my name is Stephanie Buggs, and District 6 has established a youth caucus, and we invite all youth and anyone else who would like to come and participate and contribute any ideas about the youth and the things that need to be helped in Oakland. We have a meeting this Thursday at 6:30 in the Lions Creek Crossing Apartment Center. If you have any questions about contacting anyone, you can come to one of us, or you can come to Miss Marilyn and ask for any questions.
And all of these results will be up on the mayor's website. Give it up for yourselves. You all are brilliant, and we're going to work together and make Oakland better.
Thank you, Lailan. I want to thank everyone for coming. I'm going to be leaving. Usually I take questions, so please send me an email at it's on the budget suggestions at oaklandnet.com. If it's about anything else, it's at jquan@oaklandnet.com. And I have a new one, mayor@oaklandnet.com. So any of those, and we'll try to get back to you. I'm pulling this name out. This is for the youth. This is in each of our town hall meetings, we had a donor who arranged a meeting on the field after a game with the Oakland Athletics for an Oakland youth, and we pick one from each district. And in this one, it is Maria Partida. Okay, Maria. Okay. So you'll be contacted by our Super A's fan, and you'll have this opportunity for you and one other person, I believe. So I really want to thank people. My husband's going to be here. My staff is going to be here. We have to give a speech in Sacramento at 2 o'clock. So I'm leaving today, but please feel free to email me. The next town hall meeting is at Bret Hart Middle School on May 14th, Saturday. And thank you again very much for coming. I believe the follow-up meeting they're going to announce for this district if you want to continue some of these discussions. And we're going to fold these in with continuing discussions with Pat Kernighan's office about making sure that we meet the priorities in your district. Thank you very much.